life mistakes happen, you're left with two options. Either to accept defeat, rejection from family and friends, fall into depression as a result of naysayers, or look past your mistakes, pick up your crumbs, shake it off, and bounce back. Whichever one you choose, it is your prerogative. Hence, the power of choice is not taken away from you. I'm your host, JC. And guess what? This is brought to you by our headline sponsor, Sleek TV, and associate partner, Westbrook Hotel. Kindly follow the prompt on your screen and do the needful. That said, Chat 360 with JC. We'll be back after this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back from that break. My guest today is one woman whose strength and persona I admire. She's a legal practitioner in active legal practice spanning almost 20 years. She's the managing partner and head of practice at NDIDI, ANIKE and Partners, a frontline law firm in Owerri, Imo State, Southeast Nigeria. She's a human rights activist, gender rights advocate, and currently the chairperson of International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA Nigeria, Imo State branch. It's an international association that promotes the rights of women and children. She's also a music minister, public speaker, and has spoken in so many conferences across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome my guest, NDIDI, ANIKE. Welcome, Mal.
Hi, JC. Thank you.
I'm good. You're looking beautiful.
Thank you. And you look good yourself too.
Who did this? Yourself. Can we open the shop already?
No. Law is me and me is law.
Okay, so let's get talking. This is Chat 360 with JC 5.0, and the theme of this very edition is the experience, where people share with us their wealth of experience, and people come to draw from their wealth of experiences and learn and become a better person for themselves. So let's get talking. Tell us about NDIDI ANIKE's childhood. How was growing up for you?
Oh, my childhood was a very good one, I must say. So I had these very simple parents, and thankfully and gratefully they're still alive.
Wow.
And there are four of us. I have one sister and two brothers, and we grew up in this environment that was filled with a lot of love and affection and giving and sharing and fighting, of course, and every other thing that goes with a normal family. Pretty much my family was normal, but I think that my parents were extra special in that their style of parenting was a very good one. They were a tag team. They always worked together. I noticed that you would never see my mom say things against my dad or my dad say things against my mom. It just, they had a synergy towards parenting their children. And it impacted on us all through the time we're growing up. They gave us the best, the much they could, the support they could. And my parents, I dare tell you, were and still are our greatest cheerleaders.
Wow.
They've always supported us. I mean, my father would never miss a PTA. My dad would never miss a PTA. My mom would never miss a PTA. And if both of them cannot come, one person must come. And it did happen that at one PTA that they were out of the country, I think, they sent my grandma.
Wow.
Yes, she's educated and she was there. It was that important. Their children's welfare was that important.
Yeah.
And so they paid premium attention to us. So my childhood was pretty much a very decent one, very nice. I think about it all the time. I reminisce on it all the time. And there's always nostalgia because I had a good childhood. I did have a good childhood.
Wow,
Yes.
amazing. I'm envious right now.
Well, don't be.
All right, there was this recent post you made on Facebook, and it's regards to Pastor T.T. Jake's handing over his ministry to his daughter,
Oh, yeah.
Sarah Jakes. Now, in your words, you said, you said, if you know my story, then you surely know that Sarah and I are living testimonies of a father's love. So tell us about it.
That post, wherein I referred to my story being in sync with that of Sarah Jakes Roberts. So some time ago, I did a series on Facebook where I shared some part of my story about getting pregnant out of wedlock and having my child, and forging on against all odds. So I was your regular church girl, in the general parlance of church girl, doing things right. I was always that shining example for other children. Go and see NDIDI, see the way she's doing, go see how she studies, blah, blah. And then I grew up with that idyllic kind of representation of myself. And I got into the Nigerian law school. I got called to the bar. I went for my youth service, and then I came back, and then I started work, and then I met someone in church.
Well,
Yes, because I was a church girl, and I was also in the choir. And, like I said in the story, somewhere along the line, we compromised on our faith. I can't tell you that much. And I got pregnant. And that was just the beginning of the whole, I call it my dark ages.
wow.
I call it my dark ages because suddenly everything came crashing down. Everything crashed. And I couldn't, for the life of me, understand how I was going to cope having a baby out of wedlock, and of course all the dreams, all the expectations of me, and I'm the first child in my family and all of that. And I went through with it. But thankfully, I kept talking about, I've always thanked God for my parents. I don't know, those people are just carved from another stone, another different kind of stone. And I celebrate them because we eventually broke the news to them. And with the love that and support that
Was
I
it
got from them.
immediately or months later?
It was, almost immediately. It was about 2 weeks after I discovered that I was pregnant.
Okay.
Because my mom happened to visit a week after I discovered I was pregnant. I was living in Lagos at the time, and she came in from Owerri. And she's a mother. I mean, I couldn't keep that from her. And my brother encouraged me to let her know. And I remember the night when we spoke to her. My brother was holding my hand as we spoke to her. I still remember my mother's face, extremely calm. She didn't even flicker. And she just said, "Are you okay?" And I just started crying. And she said, "You'll be fine." She just heaved a sigh and said, "You'll be fine. I know you'll be fine. We have to tell your father." And I thought that would be a very difficult time for me to speak to my dad. But she went back to Owerri, obviously, and apparently she spoke to my father about it. And then she called me and said, "Your father is going to call you." And on that day, Daddy called. And I picked up the phone. And I still remember, because you don't forget things like that.
True.
You don't forget things like that. I still remember the words of my father. And he said, "Ndi baby," that's what he calls me till today. He said, "I want you to listen to me very carefully to what I'm about to say to you. You are still my special girl. You're still Daddy's girl. I can't begin to imagine how tough and what must be going through your mind. I know you've always had tall dreams. I know you've always had ambitions. You have always made us proud, and you have remained consistent and intentional about your life. I want to let you know that this is not the end of the world. And while I don't condone any sort of irresponsibility or irresponsible behavior, I just want you to know that your mom and I will get you through this together." And the tears just, I couldn't speak. I think he knew that I won't be able to speak, so he continued. And he said, if I know you too well, you're beating up yourself about this. I'm sure you're not eating properly. I'm sure you're not taking care of yourself properly. So I've arranged for your mom. I've gotten a ticket for her to come and join you in Lagos. She will stay with you till you give birth.
Wow.
I was just about a month gone. And that was what happened. And through it all, my parents, my brothers, my sister, they were just, I was the one who seemed to have a problem with myself. I was tearing myself down every step of the way. I felt like I had failed my world. I felt like I had failed myself. I felt like I had failed everybody who actually believed in me. And I just couldn't get it off my head that I was going to be okay. But my parents and my siblings were there. And then the church where I was worshiping, the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Master Scott Parish, was pastored by Pastor Remy Morgan at the time. Amazing people. I am yet to see a people like these people.
Wow.
They stood with me, they stood for me, they stood by me, they prayed with me. Again, not because they condoned this kind of thing,
Sure.
but I don't know what happened, but there was just so much love and support. And I still couldn't get over it. I seemed to be the only one who had a problem with what was going on in my life. I had my baby amidst all the love and the support and the encouragement to keep going. And I'm yet to see a child or a grandchild so well loved like my son David. He's just, it hasn't looked like for him, or it hasn't even felt like for him, being the child of a single parent.
Wow. How old is he now?
He is 15.
Wow.
Yes. David is in 15 and in SS3 right now.
Wow,
Yes,
amazing.
yeah.
So he's getting into the high
Oh,
institutions
he's my
soon.
landlord. He's my landlord. You should see him. He's an amazing young man.
Wow.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's talk about that particular thing that kept you going. What kept you going?
Without meaning to sound churchy, because really, I don't want to sound churchy, but really, grace kept me going.
Wow.
A lot happened that period. A lot happened that, for want of time, I cannot go into it. And it could have only been the grace of God. That
But were you
kept me.
off social media at that very
Yes, I
time?
was. Completely. I was off everybody. I wasn't seeing anybody. I had locked myself up in the house for 3 months.
Wow.
I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to do anything. I was just cooped up in the house. So, of course, social media was completely off it. I didn't even exist as far as social media concerned. Grace kept me going. The love and encouragement of my parents and my family, that just kept me going. And then, of course, when I had David, that child, he had this way of always looking at me as a baby. That made me, he would look at me and like the look had this, it had a way of saying to me, remember who you are. So it just kept me going. And every time I wanted to lose it, all I needed to do was look at my son's face. And he would just latch on his eyes on me as if to say, get your act together. Remember who you are. So it kept me going, and so far so good.
Wow.
Yes,
Thank
please.
God. Nice. So tell us about the life lessons you learned from those experiences.
I learned quite a lot, but one kept standing out. One or two. So I proposed in my heart that the best form of revenge, not revenge because anybody hurt me, but revenge because the enemy tried to pull me down and tried to rubbish me and tried to mess me up. And so it just kept popping up that the best form of revenge is success. I was not going to be the same person that the enemy always knew me to be. Beat up, judgmental of myself, pushing myself away, hating myself. That stood out for me, and it has always been a driving force. I just keep remembering you're never going to be the way you were yesterday. There's always going to be a better version of you tomorrow. And that just kept me going. You have to be intentional. And that was one of the life's lessons that I picked up from that time, and it's been driving me all through. Yes, please.
So I would love to know the most cherished moments of your life. Tell us those moments that when you remember them, it's so dear to your heart.
Definitely when I was called to the Nigerian bar.
Whoa!
Definitely. I have always wanted to be a lawyer. Wow. And I'm told by my parents that this dream came as far back, as early as 5. I mean, wow. I cannot remember, but this is what my parents say that I said. And I have, according to my parents, been consistent and intentional about my dreams, about it. In everything I did, I was very outspoken, I was very brazen, I was very bold, and everything seemed to be, pointing towards that fact. I had never written an exam twice. I still remember somehow, of course, my parents, again, of course, they have always been there, wow. Pushing me on. And I still remember they escorted me, because after the call to bar ceremonies, you get to eat your first dinner as a barrister and wow. solicitor of the Supreme Court. So it's a tradition of the bar. And then after that, you now move to the Supreme Court, where you're going to put in your name into the roll. It's called into the rolls. And that is the register where your name is as a barrister and solicitor of Nigeria. So you have to do that at the Supreme Court. And then my parents, somehow, we were the first, or I was the first person who moved into the Supreme Court, got my name. And if you know how the Supreme Court looks, you have a very high staircase. And I remember coming out, my call to bar certificate, my parents were still out there. And I remember coming out and I was on the staircase and I just said, we did it.
Wow. Wow.
So I never forget that moment.
Wow.
I never, it was, for me, it was just it. It was all of my dreams come true.
Wow. Okay, so it's so interesting to imagine. Yeah. So send a message to your 20 years old self.
The world is yours, babe. Take it. The world is yours. Take it.
Take it.
It's yours.
All right. I know that some persons watching, they might be able to relate to the story that you've shared. So I want you to tell that very person going through what you went through at this time a word, something.
So I know that you'll probably be thinking, as you've listened to me, or as you're listening to me, I don't have the kind of parents that you have. I didn't have the kind of childhood that you had. I didn't have the kind of love and support and encouragement that you have. So I probably won't turn out like you have. No. I just want to encourage you, babe, that it just takes you to stand. It's just you, really. At the end of the day, with or without that encouragement, really, it takes you. And you know why? Because broken crayons still color. It doesn't matter how many times you've dipped down and out. The greatest stories and the greatest successes and the greatest testimonies are birthed in the womb of pain and shame. So you got to learn to own it and own that space. Because, like I said, broken crayons still color. This is me, years after, a lawyer, successful, doing my own thing today. I'm leading a fantastic organization of women lawyers in the state, and we are making impact. And nobody remembers again that there was once a story like mine, because broken crayons still color.
Wow. Broken crayons still color.
That's right.
Okay, so we are still in the mood of Independence Day celebration, Niger at 62. So tell us about your picture of the 2023 general election in Nigeria. What are you seeing it? What's the picture you're seeing from this end, from 2022? And also, what are you looking out for in your choice of leaders?
So for me, there is an awakening and there's going to be an announcement.
Wow.
For the 2023 elections. Never in the history of this country, at least as far back as I remember, have you had the people so galvanized, so inspired, so attuned with what they believe is rightfully theirs. And not only are they just inspired, they are giving voice to that inspiration. They are out there on the streets, all over. I mean, it's palpable. The excitement, the love, the drive is palpable. You can feel it. Nobody is buying any of these crowds. Nobody is renting any of these crowds. People are coming out of their homes because suddenly there seems to be a ray of hope. There seems to be a ray of hope. And of course, where there is hope, the people thrive. So for 2023, it's an awakening of people to know that this country is ours and we decide what happens in this country. And then, of course, it's going to herald the announcement for 2023 because the voice of the people is the voice of God.
Wow. So hold this flag and make a wish for Nigeria.
Nigeria. Oh. So much has happened. So much has happened. Dreams have been birthed, dreams have died. But my wish for Nigeria is a country tall and strong with absolute respect for the rule of law.
Right.
Because where there's a rule of law, everything flows. A country with an absolute respect for the rule of law that enables people, to respect boundaries, to respect women, to respect men, to respect children, to respect everyone. Everyone sees, when you see me, you will always know that where my right stops, yours begins. And so this is the country that I see coming up in 2023. And of course, I am not ashamed and I'm not scared to stake my claim. I am quite unapologetic in my choice of the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 2023. And that person is none other than Peter Obi, because he represents everything that the Nigerian nation needs to have. And he's such a breath of fresh air as far as I'm concerned. Proven track record, verifiable. We have verified and we will verify our votes come 2023. So here's to Nigeria, and here's to every Nigerian who believes in the birth of a new nation.
Okay.
And we are truly obedient and useful.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so very much. And thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me on your show, Jay. I am truly honored and privileged to share my story.
Wow.
And experiences.
Thank you so much. And that's it. I just have something to share with you. It is not the end, but a bend. The only end here is the end of this very episode of Chat 360 with JC. So you could drop your comments in the comment section of this video to tell me what you have learned from the experience of NDIDI ANIKE. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to have it. Ensure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, share, and turn on your post notification. When you do that, you get alert of our next video. A big thank you to our headline sponsor, Slick TV, and associate partner, Westbrook Hotel. From me to you, happy Independence Day, Nigeria.